Coach Carlton, welcome to the awesome day of FileMaker training. It's Tuesday before Christmas. We're closing in and the end of the year, 2021. And we're excited to be here at fmtrain.tv, where every day, almost every day, we're going to take a couple days off between Christmas and New Year's. We're doing great FileMaker training. Some of you send us sample files. We get your ideas, suggestions. We greatly appreciate that. Hopefully, we can help inspire you to go greater, do greater things, go to greater heights, make more amazing FileMaker solutions than you've ever built before, or just maybe remove some bugs that you had that you never thought of, or maybe put a tab order in your solution you never thought of before. I'd go through the training for the certification. There's like this question. It's like, can you tab into a summary field? And I'm like, why the hell would you ever do that on purpose? It's like a question that I don't know the answer to, because what normal human would want to put a tab into a summary field? Like Calvin?
I can't think of why.
I know. So it's like they ask these questions that like that. Like you have to go.
Yes, you can.
Actually, you can't. It won't let you. You can't add. Let's put it this way. You can't add it to the tab order. So according to the help documents. So I've never tried it. Yeah, that would be great. So, all right. So we've got another awesome day today. We got Calvin Mosiman in here. Everyone hears me okay? 5x5. So we are broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, and Discord in high definition to all three locations. So we are here in Fairfield, California. We greatly appreciate it. Calvin's here with us today, and then the next 2 days after this are going to be Nick Hunter. And so here comes the future. The future is now with us. We're going to leave Calvin in the corner to remind us that he is alive and he's still there. So today we have modular scripts for searches in FileMaker. I'm not even sure what that even is. Then tomorrow is solving complex problems, and Thursday, Nick solving complex problems. There's no live stream on Christmas. Yep. And then Monday the 3rd and the 4th, we got Monkey Bread Spread. So welcome, Monkey Bread. If you have our complete bundle. So let's back up for a second. So first off, we have free stuff, lots of free stuff. So live training is free. FM starting point. If you go to our CRM, you get brought up a new browser. You say FM starting point, and you just do a search. You're going to come up with our website. You click on that. This is free. So we got live stream training. The CRM's free. So how do we make money and not go out of business? Because you folks support the channel, support all our hard work, support Nick by purchasing one of the bundles we have. And we have this kind of discounted bundle, and we got the complete bundle. I guarantee that everyone doesn't need everything in the complete bundle. There's always something in there you don't need. And I always get people like, well, can you deduct this course and this course, and so I can save myself $19? Like, no, we don't have the hours in the day to do all the customization. So we have all these awesome courses over here. Basically, you get all of this. It comes under the bundle, the complete bundle. If you have the complete bundle, then you get to come to the FileMaker certification training. So if you go to fmtrain.tv, you press the certification button on the right side, comes the website. It starts January 10th. It will be recorded. So the fact that you can't be there in person doesn't matter, right? Because it will be recorded. It will be very much focused. So it's the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. It'll probably be days the following week too. I just don't know. I'm not going to practice this in advance. I've got an outline. We're going to go through the content. We're going to stay on topic, on focus, and that's the goal. But you need to have a complete training bundle. If it's expired or you've never bought the training bundle for us, well, as much as I would love to see you there, you can't come. It's only for the cool kids who have our complete training, right? I'm sorry about that. It's just the way that is. Because we're doing free stuff right now, so at some point, everything can't be free, right? I have people who demand that from me. So that's the January 10th. It's 11 o'clock a.m. It should, in fact, the website here, Margaret, if you want to make a note to Haley, all the 11s here should say a.m. on them. So it starts at 11 o'clock a.m., goes to 12:30, and then about 12:30, we're immediately going to flip over and do the free live stream. So the free live stream will still be going at 1 o'clock. It won't be on certification training. Just keep that in mind. Now, the certification training is not about if I bring up a screen and we're talking about the mod function, the ceiling function, the max, the min, things like that, and how they're likely to be on the test. And someone says, well, how do I use that? The practical application. Not going down that road. It's not about practical application. It's about you passing and getting certified. And so that's kind of the goal. It's not about how do I use it and does it make sense? And it's like, would you ever tab into a summary field? I asked that question here. It's not a question that I'm ever going to ask in the live stream because it makes no sense, right? I mean, or we don't have the time for it because there's a lot of content to go through. So there you go. How do you take the test? If you want to actually take the test, I guess we cover. I shot a new video, by the way, for this group. So video number 1, we have some pre-videos for you to like homework assignments. We're going to be sending that email out to you shortly as a video to watch in advance. So there'll be a couple workup emails or videos for you. You want to come over here and make sure that you have. If you're going to get an email from us. Well, you get our newsletters all the time, but if you've marked me as spam, you're probably not going to get the invite to this event. So you probably need to be watching for the email that's coming and make sure that your certificate, you have a complete training bundle and it's current. So I'm talking like, for example, Tom Winowski. I think I only said that name correctly. And he's overseas, and his bundle is good through June of next year sometime. So he's totally great and be invited. So, yeah. All right. So, Calvin, we're going to jump to you. We're going to pivot here real quick. We've covered that. I'm literally going to go on the other side in the next room over, and I'm going to be working on that content for that January 10th thing, getting it all ready. But I have Calvin here. So, Calvin, why don't you talk to us? What are we doing today?
We're going to look at the in FileMaker and especially in FM Starting Point, we've got this search feature where we pop open a search window and we find a record that we want. We select the record and it sets a field for us in whatever record we started out with. And you'll find this in accounts when you want to assign it, add a contact. You can find this in estimates and invoices when you want to assign an account or a contact to that estimate or invoice. And it's a feature that we use for a lot of different situations in a relational database to establish those relationships. And the scenario that I ran into some time ago was that the client I was working for wanted to make some big changes to the searches. And maybe they weren't that big. We wanted to make a difference to how those windows would pop up and how they would appear and how they would interact. And I realized if I changed all of those, I'd have to make the same updates to about 17 different scripts in FM Starting Point, plus any new modules that we added in there. And there were going to be a lot of modules. I would have to rewrite those scripts as well. So here's FM Starting Point, and let's go ahead and look at the scripts. And down here, we've got this relating records. And if I can show you what that is doing, I'll just jump over into invoices, create a new invoice. And here, when you select this search button, I'll go ahead and select the search. It brings this pop-up window, and I can select somebody, and it relates them. It establishes that relationship. It sets the ID contact field. All these fields are lookups that populate, and we establish that relationship between invoices and the contact. And that's all done through this script right here, contact ID search start. And the situation that I ran into was that we wanted to make some adjustments to the script. And I realized if I was going to make the adjustments here and in every other search scenario, I was going to have to make those changes to all of these scripts. Plus, I was adding new modules, and there were going to be another 30 or 40 other scripts that we're going to put in here, and I'd have to update those. So instead of doing all that repetitive work, I decided to rewrite it as a modular script. So instead of having a script for each module, I updated it to do a single script that can run in any module, and everything is based on a script parameter that uses the let statement to set global variables. And this defines where we're performing the search, any filters we're doing on that search, and any and a bunch of other appearance options and such. So here we'll see I can kind of walk through what we're going to do here. We have our script settings, which are kind of by default. We have an option to create a related record. So this would be if we were doing like a line item. In this demo, I'm not really doing that though. We can establish what we want for the window height. And if there's a popover, we can close that or leave it open, whichever we want. And then we have we determine what we open our window and determine which layout to bring up and start that search. So let me go ahead and come over here. I'm going to go to Accounts. And to show this off, I have this primary contact field. And let's go ahead and just look at what the script parameter is here. So first, we're setting what field we want to set. We're defining what field we're going to set at the end of the process. And that's the ID contact primary. And we don't need to say what the secondary field is. So that's disabled. The search multiple selection is off. So this not only has the option to select one record, you can also select multiple. And so in this case, it's turned off because we only want to select one. We have the option to create a new related record. We have the option to select what layout we want to open. So the search layout ID, and so we have the layout ID defined. We can say whether we want this to be a card window or not. And then we can define the size of that window. And then we can also have these filter options. So maybe we only want to show active records, or we want to pre-enter a search. And then we can either have this pop over, close, or shut. Refresh portal tells us what portal we need to refresh at the end of the process. So in this case, portal contact _ contacts. And then if we want to run a process after we run the search, we can have a post-search script. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And we're going to do search. So I'll open the search, and you'll notice that it opened up the window just like we were showing before. But you'll notice that that all of where we navigated was all defined in these search global variables. So we told it we wanted it to be in a card. We told it which layout to go to, which is this 1584 layout, and we told it what field we want to set at the end. So let's go ahead and select someone from here. We're going to select John Doe. We'll see John Doe is entered right there in that field. So it's a pretty simple feature, but what's exciting about it is that it's modular and we can do a lot of different stuff with it. So is everyone following at this point? Do we have any questions? The next step I'm going to show is how we can use the same script to select multiple people, multiple records. And we can look at this through actually, maybe we should look at this through the script bugger first. So here, this is just a clear script to clear that field. So here we're going to...
There is a quick question from
Yes.
Bill. You have hard-coded values in the script, though. Like,
hard-coded values in the script?
Shouldn't it be abstracted more, or is it in the parameters?
Yeah, everything is defined in the parameter. So if we look at this, and I'll go ahead and show you that this is our script parameter. So this is going to be, in this case, I'm defining it as contact primary, and this ID is the layout ID, but these are in the parameter for the script, not the script itself. Let's go ahead and walk through that script so we can kind of see it. So, and you'll see that I have this as a comment at the beginning, so it's easy to copy and paste what those default parameters are. We'll walk through our basic script settings. Now, if search create new is specified, so maybe you're creating line items, in that case we would have that used, but in this case we're not, so skipping over that. It's skipping over that. We didn't define popover, so let's skip over that. Now here, it's saving that search secondary field variable in a variable, but we're not really using that at this point. Here, this is used in case we want to have a secondary field as well. So saving the window placement. And here's where you're going to see that this is really abstracted. So we do want it in a card, and we'll say new window. And let me go ahead and open this. So look at what this new window is telling us. In this case, we are using, instead of defining the layout, we're saying layout name by calculation. And it's getting that search layout ID that we passed to it, that 1581 or whatever it was. We're using this custom function, fmNameID, to convert that ID into the layout name. And based on that, when we say new window, it pops open that window. And that way, if I do a search on contacts, I can give it the contact ID. If I'm doing a search on accounts, I can give it the account search layout ID. And that way, in wherever scenario I'm in, I can open up a different layout just based on where I want to search. So here, if there's an error, it will tell me that the window wasn't found and exit the process. Here, it adjusts the window just a little bit, and it clears our search field. So make sure that this search field at the top is clear, and then navigates to it. And I have a quick search here in case we have something predefined. And right now I'm having, if there's no search defined, I'm having it show all the records. And then we'll sort, and then go to the first record, go to that search field, and exit. And so here we are in that search, and we can start picking a record. So did that answer your question about the having those values in the script or versus the script parameter? And as we're waiting for a follow-up on that, I'll show you how the continue script works. So I have no scripts running at the moment, but you'll see here I still have some variables defined. The search set field, this is the field that I'm going to set at the end, and the window position and such. But really what we're really focused on right here is that set field search. And let me go ahead and select someone. I'm going to select Ryan this time. And let me make this a little wider. So here, now I'm pulling up the continue script, and again, it's abstracted. Now the script parameter here, you'll notice, is our parameter here is the primary key for Ryan. So it's passing that contact ID to the script so we can set that field. It closes the search window, and it sets a field by name, which is our set field here, I'm sorry, this one here, set field, search set field, the ID contact primary. And so as soon as this is set by name, you'll see the name popped up because that is a lookup field. And then in case there are scripts, post-process scripts, it will run those in case there's something there, save the record, refresh a portal if we wanted to refresh a portal, and then update the window title and exit. Now you'll notice the exit has a let statement here, and we can pop this open. And in this case, it's all that this let statement is doing is clearing out our global variables. So instead of saying set variable, search set field empty, then we do it in a single command in a calculation, so that it's a real, it doesn't take up a bunch of steps in our script, and it's easy to update. So that's the end of the process there, and you'll see that record updated. So that's kind of the first level. It's pretty simple here. We're just taking one value and setting it in one field, and not doing any post-process work. Do we have any questions at this point before we take it to the next level?
Follow up from Bill.
Yeah.
The parameters let you showed us are being created before passing? Question mark.
Yeah, that's a good question. So here, the really cool thing about the let statement is that the let function allows you to set a variable, and we could put this calculation in the script itself, but in that case it wouldn't make it modular because it'd be hard-coded to that script, and we want these buttons to work differently in each scenario. So what it does is when right before the script's called, it runs this calculation and sets all these global variables. And then we can reference those global variables in the script itself. Now, if these were local variables, because they're not called during the script, they wouldn't be available to us. But because they're global, we can. And well, because I only want to use them temporarily, I don't want them to hang out in my data viewer. So at the end of the process, I clear them out. But these global variables will be unique based on whatever button we're using to define that search. Does that answer that question?
Okay, so the let is passed, but really just the created or set globals are going over.
Yeah, so it's not really, it's using that calculation a little bit differently than, say, doing a get script parameter. So as soon as I hit this button, those global variables are set, and we can see them right here. But you'll notice down here in the call stack, we have this first script that we're calling, and then the parameter is just number 1 because the parameter is true. The parameter could be empty. Sometimes I have additional parameters I put in that at the end of that let statement. But in this case, really, we're just setting those variables. And that way, the code can be modular. But you could just as easily use the assign function to do it. In this case, I just wanted to use the global variables because we have 2 different scripts interacting with each other. If we used assign, then we would have to save them somewhere in the middle of the script. The assign custom function. So if we're ready to move on, I'll show you the next step in this feature.
I think we should be good. He said, yes, I see it now. Got it. Wait, hold on. Ruben is typing. We're going to see if he finishes up a question before we launch into the unknown.
Okay.
No question. Okay, never mind. Keep going.
Okay. So here you'll notice, so this script, 000301, modular ID search, start, is the same as this script right here, 000301, modular ID start. And if we look at our script parameters, though, it's a bit different. Here, the field name, instead of the ID contact primary, now it's ID contact list. And we still don't need a secondary field. But for our options, we say search multiple selection is true. So this is a 1. And search selected IDs. So if we want to pass a list of IDs to the search before it starts, and that's the same field here, ID contact list. Once again, we're not creating anything new. We will show this in a card. We'll get and define the window height as such. Let me go ahead and we'll save this and go ahead and see what's going on here. But the key part to notice there is that in this case, we said no to the multiple selection, and in this case, we're saying yes to multiple selection. So here, now, this is the same layout, and when I select here, you'll see we've got these check boxes. And each time I check somebody off, they're being added to this list, and we can go through there and add as many people as we want. And just keep scrolling and select whoever we want. Now that I've selected, I can say continue, and now I've got 18 people that were just suddenly added to this account. And the way that this is happening is that instead of saving one ID, we're saving a bunch of IDs, and I can go back in here and see that same list and go through here and maybe remove people that I don't want, and then go back and, okay, here's my list of 14 people. And so this is using that same script, but in this case, we're allowing for multiple selection. And the way that we're doing this in the layout, let's go ahead and take a look at this search layout. Now, I do have, usually when I do this, I set up a modular search layout. So in this case, it's this content search layout. So open. And because we're still, the multiple selection is turned on, we're seeing that multiple selection. But if we go into layout mode, this is something I learned from Nick Hunter. We've got two different buttons here. One button is for selecting multiple, while the other button is for selecting a single record. And these are passing, these are calling different scripts and running running different processes. If we go to the select, let's start with the multiple button, because that's what we just looked at. If we see this, we've got a special multi-select script that passes a single ID to add to that list of selected IDs. And we're just passing the next primary key to that list. If we look at the single select button, we're calling the continue script, ID modular ID search continue, and passing the single ID. If we look at this continue button, we're calling the same script as the single select, but instead of passing a single ID, we're selecting the search selected IDs list global variable. And that allows us to have those multiple IDs. Let's go back, and I'm going to minimize this and just kind of look at that again. So we're using the same script, same layout. We open it up. We just have a different set of two different buttons, one for showing the multiple selected IDs and one for showing for selecting a single record. Now, if I go to the data viewer, you can see search selected IDs. This is a list of all of the IDs of all the people who we've selected. Now, the reason why we have to have that field defined in the beginning, where we're passing the IDs there, is so that we can see who's already been selected. So if we, when we say manage list, and we looked at that script parameter, the search selected IDs, we had, in that case, with the search selected IDs, we needed to pass over the list, and you can kind of see those from the Monkey Bread plugin is showing this as I hover over it. You can see all of the IDs in that variable. So we're getting that from that field to update it. So I can go through here, can select. Usually I'll have a select all or a clear all button to update that list. Any questions about the multi-select?
Not really. Something kind of related though. Did you see the David Angel question? Calvin, did you create a search layout for every layout ?
Yes. Yeah. So, but the neat thing about that is, if we look at this layout here, and so in this case I only have one. Let me close scripts. In this case, let's go ahead and open this. I only added one layout here. But when I have multiple layouts, or when I do another layout for another search, all I will need to do is duplicate it. I can change the label and then update the fields. Because this is performing a quick find, it's based on the fields on the layout. And all I have to do is update the script parameter for the single one to update the script parameters where the primary key is updated. So let's go ahead and create one real fast for accounts. So I'm just going to say duplicate, and my numbering system right here, based on the table group. So layout 001 is for accounts. We'll say accounts. I don't know what ID this is, but we can find that out. So I'm going to go ahead and find out what ID this is first. So we'll open up the data viewer. And the reason I want to know the ID is because I want to be able to reference this in a script parameter. So we'll say layout, L for layout. So it's 1588, copy, close that, open scripts, or open layouts, and put that ID in there. So I remember what this is. Now, when I open this, it's going to say unrelated table, but what I can do is just go through each layout object. I'll say account search. Now, I don't need to change anything here. The status, that needs to be accounts, so I'll jump over here. Status, hide that. Cancel, doesn't need to be changed. The button here for multiple, I just need to change this to TO1, accounts, ID, account. So there I changed the script parameter. That was important. Now the checkbox, checkbox I actually do have to change because that's displaying based on this ID. So I'll select ID account based on, but I don't have to change the variable because the variable is the same. This doesn't need to be changed. The continue doesn't need to be changed because I'm referencing that global variable that I'm using everywhere else. The clear button, I'm using the same search. Clear button should need to be changed. That one doesn't do anything. The search field, just to look at this real quick, I'm referencing preferences global search field. And so each script is referencing the same table occurrence, the same record. Now here, the account name, I will want to change that to account name. Let's go account name, there we go. And what's our position here? 37. I'll just move this over, 37. And I don't think I need to change anything else. Let me just double check this button here. Oh, this button we do need to change. TO1, ID account. So there's our account search. Now let me put in a couple different companies in there. So we'll do new ABC company, new XYZ company. And let's go ahead and set up a search on contacts. And so right now we have this search that is using the old method. And I'm just going to update this button here. And I'll select the new script, our modular start. I'll select edit. And the only reason I'm selecting edit is to copy this real fast. I'll cancel, and I'll paste that into the script parameter. And the field, I'll update these variables. I want this to be ID account. I don't need a secondary search. We're not using the multi-select. We're not creating anything new. We do need this. I think it was 1588, if I remember correctly. We'll leave it at search card. The height is fine. Left, I'm going to remove that. So search value, I'm going to leave that as well. And okay, we'll see if that, we'll see how this works. Okay, let's go to browse mode. Browse mode, there we go. And I'm going to clear that out. So let's do a search. There, it brought up our new company layout. And I know it's new because it's showing 3 out of 3, and that was something that isn't in any of the other layouts. I'll select one of these, and XYZ company. So it made it really fast and easy to create this for searching in accounts. I wish I had timed myself on that. So we're using the same scripts. We didn't change anything on the scripts. We only changed the script parameters, and on the layout, we only changed the script parameters for there as well. Any follow-up questions on that?
Yes, but one kind of related to like an earlier thing. So there's a search script for each search
Yeah, that's fine.
that sets globals. Nothing is actually literally passed.
Yeah, so there's the script parameter calculation is used to set the global variables. There's not a separate script to set the global variables. The only reason that I have this here, and this is a comment, so that you can't, this doesn't actually set any of those variables. This is just a comment, so I can easily select Command A to select all, Command C to copy, and then I can paste that somewhere. And so that way we have a quick way of grabbing those variables. Does that answer the question? Because we're not setting any of these variables in the script itself. We're setting them in that calculation where the script parameter is defined. But correct, in the search start, we're not passing any data in the script parameter. In the continue script, we are passing either a single or list of primary keys. And in the select multiple, we're passing the primary key as well.
Okay, he says it did answer the question, so cool.
Great.
And then there was kind of a suggestion, which I thought I'd run by you because it's kind of interesting. David was like, could you use slide control to use a single layout?
Could you use slide control to use a single layout? No.
Oh, okay. Why not?
Because so one of the things, so these layouts are all context based. So you'll notice the associated table in the first one is the new one that we just created is table occurrence 1 accounts, and then the second was table occurrence 5 contacts. So if you were to do it in a single table with a slide control, then you would have to have some kind of relationship that you were looking through to see all of that data from all those different tables. And I don't think that would be very fast. Actually, that's an interesting idea. So I know Nick Hunter has this demo where he has a universal search, and you perform a find, and it searches across all the tables. And I suppose you could do something like that and have it all in a slide control, but then you'd have to actually have a special dedicated table group for that search mechanism, just like the universal search has a dedicated table group. You could use the same, I suppose. But that's an interesting idea. It's probably easier being in a single, having a dedicated table layout for each, because each of these layouts is a pretty lightweight, simple table or a simple layout to manage. Any other questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay, so next I'd like to go ahead and show how we can use this and also run a post-process script as well. So in FM starting point in invoices and estimates, you'll notice in the search, so we'll say we've got this script, account ID search start, account ID search continue. At the end, it checks is the layout table name estimates, is the layout table name invoices, and in that case, run this script or run this script. So if you have post-process things for all these different, or a whole bunch of different scenarios, sometimes you can have multiple scenarios in the same table, and this really is not practical in those cases. You could have a really giant if statement, and it's not as clean with these things. So what I wanted to do here is add the ability to run a script at the end. So I'm going to copy this script that we have in invoice, the account address conflict invoices. And I'm going to get the ID for this using the custom function fmNameID. Paste that in here. And define S for script, and it's 2372. I'll copy that. And I'll save this in here, ID 2372. And now here, let's go ahead and create a new record. On the contact search, I'm going to switch to my new script up here. I'll go to, actually, I just want to save that ID in there. I'll go to Start, select Edit, and the only reason I'm doing this is to copy my default variables. I'll cancel so I don't change anything by accident. Paste that in, and here, what I want to show you is this post-search script. So I'm going to paste this in here. Actually, it doesn't need to be in quotes because it's a number. And this, but based on this ID, we'll run a script at the end of the process. So what's our search field? Let's find ID contact. We don't need a secondary. Multiple selection is off. Create new is off. The layout ID is going to stay the same. This is the contact one, and I have I've been putting in the IDs down here so I can quickly see which one is appropriate in this case. Search card, we'll leave it as a card. Height we can leave. The left, I'm going to say we won't define what the left is. Search value, we don't want any of those either. So here we'll go ahead and say okay. Okay. And let's go ahead and go to browse mode and try this out. So here's our list, and it selected it. Let's go ahead and try that again. Let's check, we'll select John Doe, I'm sorry. So using that same script, I was quickly able to define that without having to set up a new script or anything like that. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to assign this to, what I was supposed to be showing you was that search script. So I don't think I defined that, did I? No, I did define it. So it should have run, but I don't think it did when I did that. So something might be a little messed up. Let's go look at continue. And it looks like it's doing it there. So let's go ahead and try that. Oh, the reason why it didn't was because there was no account. So here we go. Now it's defining that. So let's go ahead and look at that one more time. I'm going to do a search. And it wasn't running that. It was running the post search script, but there's nothing for it to do because there wasn't an account associated with it at the beginning. So now it's closed. It closes the window, and now based on that script variable over here, we've got post search script 2372. It's going to first it tries to run by name in case you just defined a name. Second, it's going to define by use of that variable or the custom function to convert that number back to the script name. And now it's running that process. It shows us our dialog, and we can say contact or company, and it goes through the process. Now, one thing though, do we have any questions about how that's working to have the post search script run as well?
I missed how global variables get cleared.
Okay, yeah, good question. So the way that the global variables are getting cleared is actually this in a calculation, the same way that they're getting set. But when we're setting it, we're using the calculation in the script parameter. When we're clearing it, we're using the calculation in the exit script. So here I'm just saying let, and then I'm clearing out all of these global variables and then giving it a value of true. And in the cancel, I'm doing the same thing. So if I cancel, I don't want those just hanging out there in my data viewer, so I'll clear them. But good question.
Okay, and then the follow-up question, not follow-up, but a different question. Could you run multiple scripts by sending a list of script IDs?
Yeah, so I hadn't thought of that before. Now you'll notice in the continue, I have search post search script and then a search post search script 2. But I guess you're right. We could do a list of IDs and then have a loop that just goes through those, and that's probably that would probably be better. I've only ran into one instance where I needed to run 2 scripts, and this was my answer to that. But yes, we could do a list of scripts, and that'd probably be a little better. I like that idea.
Okay, cool.
But so right now it's only one though. The next thing I want to show is how we can define a filter on these. So we can put additional filters on the search when we're starting. So let me go ahead and open up so we just ran this, it was working. And what I want to do is add a search filter. So here, and I also want this to be dynamic. I don't want to have to type this in or have it an if statement or something. So what I'm going to do is put in the account name. So here's the account name as our search filter. I'll go to browse mode. And now, let me clear that out and search again. It does a predefined search based on whatever I defined in there, which happened to be the account. So that way, it's a real quick way to have it filtered by whatever account is already associated with it. And if I remove that, then the filter's not on there. But if let's go ahead back over to accounts, select an account, and say ABC Company. Now I didn't assign anybody to ABC Company, so now there's no results. Let's go back to RCC and do a search, and there is our search, and it makes it a much more usable, friendly list than having to type in something when you're not sure. This limits our list, especially in something like an invoice where the contact and the account should be related. So I'll go ahead and select John Doe. Now the way that this is happening is that in the layout here and in the script, I'm passing that filter variable, and in this search field with our script trigger, we have a let's go ahead and select edit. We are doing the quick find based on the search field, whatever you type in, the search filter, and the search filter ID. So if you wanted to if you wanted to filter by the ID, you could also do that as well. Put an ID in there. In this case, we're just searching. We're filtering by the name, and the reason that works is that it's a quick find, and we have the account name on there. So really handy way, and it's all I guess the magic of this is it's all using the same script, all making those changes, giving us that flexibility in one place instead of having a script for every different scenario that we may want. We're running close on time. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope. Beyond the general consensus is very cool.
Okay. So I guess one last thing that I really like about this is that it also gives you, so we're making adjustments for each button to function differently, but you can also make global changes and make things maybe feel or appear differently. So in one instance, we wanted to change the way the search worked. And so let me just show you real quick. If I turn off the card option, let's go ahead and say we don't want a card window. And let's go back to browse mode. So if I don't want a card window, by default, it pops it up in a dialog window and centers it over our main window. and but we can make this behave. We can put changing it in one area, like the window placement, we'll change it across the board in all scenarios. So maybe we don't want to dim the parent window. Maybe let's change the height to the window content height. And let's define the left as 0. And now what this is going to do is just really give it, through this whole demo, we've been looking at the screen popping up and centered in the middle of the screen. And now when I do a search, let's go ahead and make sure that it's defined as a card. So let's leave it as, where's the card option? So we're gonna tell it to be a card right here, and save it. Go back to browse mode, and now it gives us this almost like it's a window that slides in from the left, and we can select whatever we want and make a change to it. Let's go ahead back over here, and you'll see I changed it in the and since we're using one script to do this, it changed for the account search, it changed for the contact search, and if that's the kind of style you want the window to be, you can change that across the board. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to make changes for each button, and it also gives us the flexibility of making across the board changes to just make our app function just exactly the way we want it to for this scenario. Another thing we could do, I want to try this out, I'm going to say duplicate so I don't lose this, is I think this would look a little cooler if we did, now obviously this, let's cancel out of here and open this back up. And here, obviously we're not looking at contacts, we're looking at accounts. And maybe we can delete that, and I just want this to be a little shorter here. Try that. And now I think that feels probably a little more like a search popping in from the left than the other way did. But you can make these changes and see them across the board. It looks like David Angel's asking, outside the layout, the objects outside the layout, what are they for? I think the only object outside the layout was the search, and that's it was the status field, and that was for a quick find. That was for a quick find. So the couple of things we weren't able to cover, and if people are interested, maybe we could see if Richard wanted to schedule something else to look at this again. But we didn't look at the options for the create new. We did look at the filters. Search popover is just opening and closing. Refresh portal is pretty basic. I guess the search new was the only thing we didn't really look into.
Okay. Hey, was there a password on this file, Calvin? Hopefully not.
No, it's just.
But admin no password?
Admin no password, yeah.
Cool.
I just downloaded this. This is the FM starting point download.
All right. Thank you very much, Calvin. Thank you, everyone.
Open outer doors, flood 2.1.
Yes. We're going to run the end music. And then I think we're good on questions, too. So we should be nice and shiny. Closing credits. Thank you again, Calvin. Seriously, that was really cool.
No problem.
report of an individual up here who maybe a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!